father, John Misty, is like an alter ego. It's almost like an identity crusader. And this I Love You, Honey Bear album, it's all you, you know, and that's what I feel like. And do you think that at some point you might like assassinate your character?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, that's another, I think, kind of a step. You know, I think you can do that without changing the name. I mean, but, you know, what interests me about personas or whatever is, in contrast to what I do, like an alter ego or a persona or something, it doesn't change. It just, it has to stay the same, you know, or people can't identify it, or people get disappointed. And this thing, I mean, I just think that even from the last album to this one, it's a fairly radical kind of, I mean, it's so, I like it because, I mean, to be honest, I like it on some level because it is so confusing, you know, like, where it is so kind of explicitly honest and so obviously about me, but it has this obviously fraudulent name attached to it. But I mean, I just chose it because I just chose to give myself a stupid name because when my writing changed or whatever, I was really hung up on this idea of identity, you know, and that I had made all this music as Jay Tillman, but that I realized Jay Tillman was the alter ego, you know, like I wanted people to believe that I was some thing that I just wasn't, you know, and you know, I didn't live like Jay Tillman, I didn't talk like Jay Tillman. None of the experiences in a Jay Tillman song had anything to do with my real life. It was this fantasy world.
But when you wrote A Seat at a Table as Jay Tillman,
yeah.
Did you already knew things were going to change? It's kind of feels like it in the lyrics.
Well, I knew I was done. Like I knew that I was done with making that music. It had just run its course, you know. And it was, you know, I don't remember I mean, I guess I made that album in 2010, and then there was kind of just this year where I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I just kind of stopped thinking about music for a little while, and it was really important for me to disassociate with this idea of being a singer-songwriter and having all my self-worth and whatever wrapped up in how successful or not I was as a singer-songwriter. And when I wrote that novel that comes with the book, that was really like, you know, that was a response to kind of this like psychedelic moment of realization that I had. And I was like, I just want to do something to do it, you know? And like, I was like, I'm not a novelist. I don't have any desire to become known as like a famous or successful novelist or anything.
And the songs, because I really love your lyrics. That part when you say "holy shit," and you say like love is just an economy based on resource scarcity. Are you committed to take all the bullshit out of love?
Well, yes and no, because in some respect, love is great. You know, a lot of it is like bullshit. To say, like a lot of it is mystery and grace and subtlety. You know, I mean, so much of it is mystery. Like so much of it is not rational. You know, which kind of in this day and age makes it fall into the category of bullshit. And I think that I think that the modern conception of what is not bullshit is this thing that to me is bullshit, which is saying, well, we're just we're just living out this biological imperative to couple and reproduce and whatever. And that's all that, and everything that's not that is just a lie that we tell ourselves. It's just an illusion and whatever. Whereas I place great value in illusion, and in and in creativity, And so in that respect, I think that in order to live in the state and context of love, you have to be committed to things that that can come off like bullshit, And I mean, I had to fight my intellectual mind tooth and nail, like all through the first couple of years of this thing with Emma, and this thing that we, like very irrationally committed ourselves to, even down to like marriage. It's like marriage. It's like it's just this patriarchal, like land transaction, right? Like that's all it is. But it's like there's no prize for thinking that way. There's no prize for living that way, And it's like I claim the right to get married as if it's never been done before, And like we can make it this thing, To me, it was just the only. I mean, maybe I'm just old-fashioned. Maybe I'm just like a deeply repressed, old-fashioned person, which is probably the case. But, I was, I couldn't think of any other like gesture that did the whole thing justice, And I don't think it's like for everyone. I don't think it makes I don't think it makes Emma and I's relationship more or less legitimate than anyone else's. I don't think about anyone else's thing, I'm just, it was just such a, for me to step out of this intellectual, ambivalent malaise and step into like what I perceive to be like this like light of consciousness, where it's like I'm free to make my own decisions, and that line in Holy Shit, it's like maybe, maybe love is just an economy based on resource scarcity.
I went to the store one day. It's like a banal, thing, but then because of like the intimacy with the other person and the love that you conquer with the other person, just turns it into a poetic happening. Is that?
Yeah.
Did it pass with the song?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it. I gave the song, the stupidest title. Like imagine, it is like the most mundane. The subject matter is very mundane, and the encounter itself was really mundane, and that was it was just really important to me to include everything in this album, because the experience itself included everything. The experience itself was at times vulgar, at times profound, at times exhilarating, at times filled with angst and jealousy and despair, and at other times incredibly mundane and commonplace, and that was, it's sort of this acknowledgement of the fact that it's just chaos out there, and that love doesn't necessarily come floating down from heaven, in this really spectacular way, that it's really just my way of saying like, well, after all this like hand-wringing and philosophizing and whatever else, that it really just that the people who become so like fundamental to our life and to our being can sometimes come into our lives in really unspectacular ways, and it's hard to even, now I can't even really relate to those two people that were at the store, and it feels like I'm talking about someone else, so yeah, I mean, it was, when I started writing that song, it was very kind of grandiose, and I was just like, this is, this horrible instinct to write like a really, you know, bloated kind of love song, and then it just kept peeling it all back and back and back. Yeah.
And like born in USA, does it have anything to do with your upbringing in Maryland, or just like about the passiveness of society in general?
That tune really didn't come from like a very personal place, because I've sort of tried to do everything I can to like prevent myself from living in the like, you know, existing in the state of mind that's like presented in the song. It's really like, that song's a pretty good indicator of where the writing is going, at least for the time being, of like sort of taking down these institutions or ideas or whatever that have kind of irked me my whole life. You know? But I mean, that's just kind of like a very standard sort of, I don't know how to describe it really, just complaining.
You don't know how to describe it?
Complaining about other people, you know, like.
Which is good too.
Yeah.
But are you like a person in conflict? Do you live in conflict?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, less and less, you know, to a like lessering degree, I think. I mean, I think that I know that this album in particular was born in conflict. It's entirely about conflict, and the album was about like allowing that messiness into the album, and these really ugly moments, you know, like the night Josh Tillman came to our apartment, or Strange Encounter, or Ideal Husband, which is all. Ideal Husband is another tune that's like the mundane, you know, like these really mundane kind of things that I hate about myself.
You put yourself too as the anti-hero.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not. Yeah. You were asking me about character assassination earlier, and it's like, I mean, this album, you know, at times borders on character assassination. You know, we're talking about conflict, you know, but yeah, there's this conflict between the intellect and this other thing, this thing called like, or that we'll just call like actually living, you know, that conflict is very, very real, and also there's this conflict between. You just bring all these, you know, we all, you know, we just, this baggage, or this conflict between the baggage and the future, and which is kind of what like Honey Bear is about. So yeah, the whole thing is about conflict, but I think that contradiction is really important in terms of the truth, you know, like I think that there's always, I feel like the real truth is always at the cross-section of a really violent contradiction, you know? And, yeah, it's all over the album. Like the night Josh Tillman came to our apartment, which to me is like, more or less like a love song to this, you know, girl that's like being perceived as like this horrible person in the song. And then another layer of conflict that it really is about how I'm this horrible person, because who goes around thinking this way and then writing songs about it, and it's just kind of it's about this like this little boy psychology, you know, and this like little boy mindset of like, you know, these like really insipid kind of judgmental bullshit, and this like self-righteousness that gives you permission to do whatever you want with whoever you want. And, you know, I mean, it's crazy that a lot of people come, you know, in terms of like love, a lot of people come straight out of some crazy ass, like, selfish lifestyle straight into like trying to live with someone else and create a new life with someone. So there's always this like crazy transition.
I'm a steady hand, I'm a Dodgers fan, I'm a leader.